Hey there, what's up, guys? Hey, it's probably too early in the history of this channel to do this, but I'm going to do this anyway. So, I wanted to talk a little bit sort of about my approach to both playing these games and to reporting on them, especially to blogging and doing the YouTube videos. It's a really interesting thing to be sort of in this position right now, trying to maintain both. So just so you know a little bit of background, I actually had a Diamond Mine Baseball blog that was exclusively Diamond Mine Baseball back in like 2006, I want to say, 2007. Maybe it was more close to like 2008, somewhere around there. So over 15 years ago. You can still find it. It was on Blogspot back before that was part of Google, actually. So those were the real old days. And I had it going for a little while and sort of abandoned it. I had a project going that I wasn't really taking all that seriously. And I mean, I was like, I don't know, in my early 20s, so I didn't take this stuff quite as seriously as I would later on. Ended up getting married, had children, and sort of went away from all this stuff. But, the pull of blogging about these games has always sort of been there. And there was a very, very particular blog that I found, among others. I mean, we've all read blogs. There was a blog that I found probably a little over a decade ago called the CRPG Addict that made me really, really want to do a project like this. So if you haven't ever read it, it's also on Blogspot. The CRPG Addict is done by this guy who spends a lot of his free time playing old computer role-playing games, Think about like the old Ultima games. Think about, I don't know, like King's Quest or something like that, And he goes back and plays these games and plays them all the way through. And then he will like give a rating on them and talk about how this works and talks about how the game was and will blog his way through it, give you a bunch of screenshots and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge role-playing game fan, right? Like when I was in high school, I played like Final Fantasy 1. I played the Dragon Warrior games on the NES. I loved playing those, but I never really advanced like beyond that point. Like I loved like Chrono Trigger and like, I don't know, the Final Fantasies on the Super Nintendo, but I'm not like, sitting around playing Skyrim all day. I'm not like, getting really, really deep into those kinds of games. I'm not really that into role-playing stuff. But the cool thing about that CRPG Addict blog was the fact that there was clearly this like community that came up around it, right? And also the fact that the person who was writing it, the author, was clearly very, very passionate about what he was doing. That was very attractive to me. And I kept thinking to myself, I should do something like this with baseball games. And I thought, there's a whole ton of these games from the DOS era and from the Windows era and other things that I know about that I've played, some of which many people might not remember, or might not know about, or might not know that much about. Wouldn't it be cool to have a blog where we did replays with each of these games and we went through slowly and we talked about what was happening. We got like really into the project and stuff. And then I did nothing, right? I did absolutely nothing for a long, long time, really until it was late last year that I started thinking I should really do it. I finally started up the Baseball Replay Journal as a Substack blog. Originally, I was going to go back to Blogspot and do it that way. And then I had stumbled across, I think it was Molly White's work on Substack, where she talks about, cryptocurrency and fraud in that world, a little bit of sort of like banking and stuff like that. I mean, stuff that I'm like kind of interested in, but I mean, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. And I read that and I thought this is really interesting. It's interesting that she's using this platform. And then I noticed that on Substack, the way her blog worked is that all of the posts were free. And you had the option, if you wanted, to support her by paying like a couple bucks a month. And that would give you the ability to comment. And I thought, that's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, because then you don't have to worry about all the spam comments. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of time moderating your blog. If somebody wants to say whatever they want to say, they can say it, but they've got to pay to get in. That'll stop your spam bots. And so that's what I did. That's what I decided to do with Substack, and it's worked. In fact, it worked so well when I started that blog off only a couple months ago that I found myself with like probably 50 or 60 readers like within like a week or two. I mean, it's just been amazing. The support has been beyond anything that I ever thought it would be. And I think that the sky really is the limit, because I have seen what some other baseball bloggers and other sports bloggers are drawing in terms of numbers of readers. I think we can get there, and I have some plans to move us forward. So that's kind of where the whole blog thing came from. That's where the whole idea was. You're probably wondering, well, why do anything on YouTube then? I mean, you can just blog and play, and you can just keep it all written that way. Then you don't have to record any videos. It's all sort of the written text. Well, I have been curious about doing YouTube games, baseball games on YouTube for a couple of years now. There was a project I started then abandoned with the 1920 season in Diamond Mine Baseball. This would have been back, I think, in 2019 when I started this. And for a little while, I was considering just putting all of the games on YouTube. Couldn't figure out at the time like the best way to record. I was a little familiar with OBS, but I didn't spend time playing around with the settings. It's kind of a shame because if I had and figured out how to do this, I probably would have tried to do something a little bit earlier. What I noticed was that is to this day kind of a dearth of these simulation games on YouTube. I know that there are some guys who will do videos of themselves playing like Hardened Dice, but there's not many, right? There are some guys that we know about, I've talked about, like our good old friend, the Retro Sports Network. So say hi to Uncle Ron. Uncle Ron's great. There are others like him, Al Red Sox fan, and a couple of others. I won't name everybody because I know I'll leave people out. My apologies. There are people who do this from time to time. But it's a little bit different than kind of what I was envisioning, right? I'm not just thinking about, oh yeah, I'm going to play a one-off game here. We'll play with like the 77 season or something to sort of show you what's going on. We'll put a game up here and then forget about it. No. I'm talking about doing like a full replay on YouTube. Like we're going to play through like a replay, like a real replay. Now, as I told you before, I don't play every game because I don't want to spam YouTube too much and I don't want the project to take like 4 years, right? But I do want to show as many key games as possible, and I want to make sure that we have some sort of content that would be interesting to watch that might induce people who are curious about baseball replays to say, oh, I want to know how this is played. What is this like? What do you think about when you play a replay, right? How does it feel when like something bizarre happens, right? Like say the Pittsburgh Pirates go undefeated for the first 10 games and set the record at the time for the most consecutive wins to start a season for a team that, in real life was under 500, right? What does that feel like? What does it look like to see that happen? How were the games being played? Was the person cheating or not, right? Were they playing it like the real way, the right way, right? And also, I think most importantly here is kind of what goes on in the heart and the mind of the replayer, right? Are there things that make you upset? Are there things about the game itself where you look at it and you're like, this isn't realistic at all? Or, I feel like this is just ridiculous, Or are there things that work out very, very well where you're like, oh, this is surprising. I didn't know this game was capable of this kind of result. And I can really see this happening in my head, right? That's the sort of thing that's interesting. That's the sort of thing that hopefully we're going to start being able to capture with the replay games on YouTube. Now, I will tell you, I've said this before, one of the things that made it possible for me to do this was watching a lot of Football Manager games. So I love playing Football Manager. I've got another channel where I do a lot of Football Manager stuff. There's a bigger audience for that than there is for these baseball sims. There's no question about it. It's kind of funny, actually, because Football Manager is similar to a lot of baseball games. It's closer to OOTP than anything else. There are differences. Football Manager is actually an RPG. I have a video on that. You can go look it up. But while there are some similarities, I don't know. I think that the marketing is a little bit different. The way that it's brought to the crowd is a little bit different or something like that. Football Manager seems like, oh yes, this is the natural thing you do if you're into association football and you're really knowledgeable about this stuff and, you care a lot about it. Whereas simulation baseball seems to be, at least the way it's perceived now, well, this is what you do if you're like an older guy and you remember playing these games as a kid and you want to have a project, right? I don't think that that's right. I don't think it should be that way. And I know that what we need to work through is a community. And so that's the other reason why I decided, hey, let's go put some of this up on YouTube. For a while, I thought, I bet I could get the blog to advertise the YouTube channel and the YouTube channel to advertise the blog and back and forth. I'll give you a hint. People have done studies on this, by the way. It doesn't work quite that way. You can try, and you will get some crossover, but not that much. in the end, it turns out that when people want to watch videos, they just want to watch videos. They don't want to read anything. And when people want to read something, they don't want to see a video. They want to read something, right? So you have kind of two different audiences there that have maybe a little bit of overlap. And to be honest with you, when I think about how I consume stuff, it's kind of the same way, right? If I want to go, I don't know, if I want to read somebody's description of, the replay project they're having now, like I forget his name, but the guy on the replay baseball forums who plays, who's played like 26,000 games. If I'm sitting around thinking, oh yeah, it's lunchtime, I want to go read what this guy's done, then I'm going to go read his blog, right? If I want to say instead, I want to go watch somebody play a game, then I'll go look up Uncle Ron and say, okay, well, what did he play most lately? Let's see what's going on and, hear his friendly voice again. So that's kind of, the approach that we have. It's kind of weird because it's like two different things at once, but they're both kind of the same project. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to move forward. I've been impressed with the nice reception I've had both for the blog and for the YouTube channel. And as I said, I do think that we're going to grow, not just in the short term, but especially in the long term. I've got ideas for some projects here that might be a little surprising for you that you'll want to stick around for. Anyway, that's it for this video. Love to know what your thoughts are. Love to know what you think about doing this stuff. I hope that more of us make blogs that are updated frequently or come onto YouTube and talk about things. I don't care how old you are. In fact, if you have a lot of experience, it would be nice to hear about it and nice to, get to know what your thoughts and opinions are on certain subjects, right? We want to at least have something present so that in the chance that maybe the sport of baseball becomes a little more popular because of certain rule changes that have come forth and so on, then we'll have something there for people to discover, right? It won't just be like, oh, the sport's popular now everybody just plays MLB The Show and that was the end. Well, we have some other games, we have some other stuff that we can talk with them about. Let's make the content, let's make it high quality. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.